Hi everybody, I'm Rachel Brady from Mrs. Rachel Brady. If you're new around here, I'm Rachel. I'm a mum of two. Arthur is 7, Beatrix is 5, and I have another baby on the way due in September. I live in the Peak District with my family and my pets. We've renovated a farmhouse here. We live in a small village. It's really, really lovely to meet you. Oh, and I vlog about family and food. I also have a blog with like 500 family recipes. All those links are below. Do connect with me on social as well. I'm on Insta stories every day, so come and say hi. Today's video is my 5 favorite cookbooks, family cookbooks, just cookbooks. I have a lot. I have, oh my gosh, probably 100, something like that, and that's with regular clear outs. So today I'm going to show you my top 5. I'll go through each one, why it's my favourite, and I'll also show a couple of my favourite recipes from them. So my first one, and I couldn't possibly do this list without mentioning the goddess, Delia Smith. The cover has come off this book. It's so well used. It's Delia Smith's Complete Illustrated Cookery Course. If you want to buy it on Amazon, I'm going to link to them all below. I actually grew up cooking from Delia cookbooks. My mum, who is probably my greatest kind of cooking influence, had the same as this, but I think it was broken down into 3 individual books, and this is the complete one with them all together. This is such a fantastic book for any cook. It has everything in it, from Yorkshire pudding, you know, a really good Yorkshire pudding recipe, to pastry, to a moussaka recipe that I've always cooked from that moussaka recipe, and over the years I've adapted it and developed it into my own, from risottos, from a classic salad niçoise. The first time I made a salad niçoise, I will have definitely looked it up in here. There's just everything in here. It's from an era where probably kind of Keith Floyd, like 70s and 80s, like the UK was just getting turned on to like Mediterranean food via cooks like Elizabeth David and so on, who were massive influences on Keith Floyd. And Delia brought it to the mainstream, and she brought it into every mum's kitchen. And so my mum loved Delia, and we grew up watching Delia on TV. I mentioned it just before, the moussaka recipe is such a fantastic recipe. My mum, if we go around to my mum's for like lunch or whatever, especially if it's in the summer, my mum will often make a moussaka. You can make it the night before. It's a really fantastic recipe. I'll link below as well to my kind of version and take on her moussaka recipe. Everybody loves moussaka, it's a great one. The other one that I made from here, and I remember making this as a teenager, is bread and butter pudding. I don't think I've made this for years, so I might give this a whirl one weekend. I think my son would love it. Yeah, what's really sweet as well is that I just noticed it had an inscription in there, and it says, "Happy 25th birthday, big dog." Oh, cringe, that's what I think I used to call Adam. And the date is the 22nd of November 2001, so we'd not long been together. And it has a little thing saying, "All my love forever and ever, PS mushrooms, page 222, because we still to this day disagree on how to cook mushrooms." So the next book I want to share with you guys is this, and it's a real kind of classy cookery book. It's the River Cafe cookbook. It's the first one. It's not kind of separated by meat or dessert or veggie, or it's not the one part 2. It's not part 2. It's the first one. And we've had this for years. It's by Rose Gray and Ruth Rogers. Okay, Jamie Oliver trained under these guys. It is a fantastic, like, basic introduction to the kind of classic tenets of Italian cookery. And it's like an ideology more than a cookbook. Like, if you are into simplicity in food and ingredients and respecting ingredients, and obviously if you're into like real Italian food, like I don't mean like pizzas and spag bol, there's nothing wrong with those, we eat them a lot, but this is like the classic, you know, the roots, the kind of simplistic. We had this and a couple of the ones I'm going to feature today pre-kids, and when me and Adam used to just be really, really hardcore into our food, we would flick through this at the weekend, go up to the fishmonger that we lived around the corner from. The one thing I miss about city life is having an amazing fishmonger on your doorstep. We don't have that anymore. And there's just so many fantastic recipes in here. This type of cookbook, and probably this cookbook in particular, introduced Adam and I to kind of using anchovies and capers and tons of herbs We've done everything, we've done so many things out of here. You can tell by the dirty pages, you know, risotto with mushrooms. You know, who'd used porcini mushrooms before they kind of access these types of books? Not me. If you ever wanted to make an interesting fish dish for your kids, and honest to God, you won't believe me, but kids love clams. It's really fun picking them out of the vongole. Vongole is basically spaghetti with clams. It's literally spaghetti, olive oil, garlic, clams, put a splash of white wine, some parsley, that's it. That's the attitude of food, about food in this book. Lemon tart, crostata di limoni. And I remember in my 20s making that for my team at work and taking it in, and my boss was Italian, and I was really proud of it because it was really good, and he agreed it was really good. Yeah, so this is a really good one. Get it secondhand off Amazon and buy it for the foodie in your life. One of my next top cookbooks might surprise one or two of you. I featured her pancakes recently, Gwyneth Paltrow's pancakes recently on an Insta story. Go and check me out over there, by the way. I'm always hanging around and sharing things. You might be surprised, she gets a lot of stick. A lot of people don't like her, and I don't know why, because I find her really interesting, really inspiring. I think there's a lot of hearsay about her only eating like certain things and having ridiculously strict diets. She talks about all of that in this cookbook. It's not a new cookbook, it's when her kids were little. She talks very personally in this cookbook about her dad, and how close they were, and her relationship with her dad drove her interest in food. She is a proper foodie. This book is a fantastic balance between the kind of healthy food that you would associate with Gwyneth and real food, so like damn delicious, kind of slightly fatty, sugary food. It has both those types of recipes in, which totally reflects my attitude to food, which is life's too short to be totally healthy all the time, but I actually love healthy food. Healthy food should taste good, but also let's have a big stack of pancakes with syrup on. So the recipes that I wanted to share with you are the fried rice with kale and spring onions. So if you access my content regularly, you'll know that I often do like a brown rice and kale dish. I actually have started doing it in the oven with like an instant packet of rice, which is like, it started with this recipe and it's evolved for me, but I've also done this recipe tons of times. The other recipe I wanted to show you that we do a hell of a lot, and I shared it recently on my stories, is her dad's pancakes, which are the best pancakes. This recipe makes a whole load, like a huge batch for the whole weekend. If you've got guests coming over, make it in advance. Yeah, this is a really interesting cookbook, and one I would recommend to mums who like healthy food and also treat food. My next favourite family cookbook, or just cookbook, is Mauro. Now, you may or may not have heard of Mauro. It's not as famous as River Cafe, but it's definitely in that foodie genre. It's not really in the mainstream, I wouldn't say. So when we got this cookbook, it was years ago, oh, it must have been over 10 years ago. It's the first Mauro cookbook. They've done subsequent cookbooks, probably about 5 more now. We've got a couple of those. It's Spanish food. It's not, there are paellas and things like that in here, but this is the real, kind of, I would say like southern Spanish food, like the influence on southern Spain that came over from Africa, so that kind of Moorish food. We went Moorish Spanish food bonkers for about 10 years, and we still massively eat a lot of the type of food that's in this book. Very similar to the River Cafe book in that it's all about the ingredients and so on, but I would say some of these recipes, you know, if you have certain ingredients in, like sweet paprika and cumin, you'll find you're using them again and again, and yogurt, rice, you know, they combine all those ingredients to make this a lot of familiar flavors. They use raisins a lot, all of those things that you would associate with kind of southern Spain. This is one we make all the time. It is paella, like a rice with pork, chorizo and spinach. We've made that for so many people. We've done it in Spain, we've done it over here. Another one that I've made a lot of times is this chocolate and apricot tart. If you love your Spanish food, go and check them out. They also have a restaurant in London that I've been to a few times. Really unpretentious. That's what these guys are like. They're a married couple, they're unpretentious. It's just about good eating. Final favourite family cookbook is a family cookbook, and it's Crumbs. And you guys, if you're aware of them, you probably are because you're watching YouTube right now. They have a YouTube channel. They're two sisters, Claire and Lucy, I think they're called, McDonald, yeah. And I really enjoyed their videos when I was a blogger before I got onto YouTube, and they make very accessible, like for me, the journey, all these books represent like my journey through food. So I started with Delia, I graduated into kind of River Cafe in Mauro, and then when I had kids, I got into kind of like Gwyneth Paltrow's approach to things, and then I think when you're a fully fledged mum cook, you really have to have the full spectrum, and you have to have the hacks, the shortcuts, the things that kids will actually eat, and that's all in here. I often look through this for inspiration, even though I might not make a recipe kind of straight out of it. I will be like, ah, yeah, let's do the noodles with prawns because that's really good. And I won't even follow their recipe. It will have just triggered an idea in my head. I do that a lot. The recipe in here that we go back to and that we do use a lot is their pizza recipe. It's the one I like best. I have adapted it slightly over the years, but their pizza recipe got me making pizzas. I was really frightened of making pizzas years ago, and I got this cookbook and I started making pizzas. Also, this 8 apple cake, I've made that before with pears and apples. It's gorgeous. There's just so many lovely ideas in here. This is just a really good one for mums. If you can cook, if you can't cook, this is a good one. You're gonna get loads of ideas out of this book. Guys, I hope you enjoyed my video about my 5 favourite cookbooks. It was really hard. There's so many more. I might do another one actually of these videos if you enjoyed it and show you some other of my cookbooks that are great. Let me know, what is your most used cookbook? Is it Jamie Oliver's 15-minute meals? Is it a Delia one? Is it Nigella? She very nearly featured in this. Her Nigellissima book is amazing. Anyway, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment below, tell me about your favourite cookbooks, and I might just go out and buy one. Yeah, that's all for now, guys. Bye. Oh, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the alarm bell if you're already subbed. Bye.